by thanking you. We all realize that time is precious, but we also realize that this is a very, very important decision that is facing the city of Fresno because Chief Dyer is retiring in October after 18 years of service as our chief, and we thought it was important for us to make sure that we're getting as much input from the community as possible as we make the decision about who the next chief of police is for the city of Fresno, the person who's going to be leading over 800 sworn officers and roughly about 300 or so support personnel over the next few years. And that's a very, very crucial decision, and that's why it's important for us to try to get feedback from the community. Now, what's interesting about this format in particular is because, normally somebody like me from the city would be up here, we'd have a town hall meeting, and we'd be asking you questions or what have you. But we thought this process, it was so important for you to feel free to say whatever you need to, that we would set up a totally citizen-led community meeting. And what I mean by that is we asked community members, not representatives from the city government to be here, but community members to actually lead the discussion. I'm going to introduce them in just a couple of minutes. I'm representing Mayor Lee Brand. The mayor typically will be at these conversations, but today he's representing us up in Sacramento with the state legislature today. Also, City Manager Wilma Kwan is going to be on hand, and she'll be in the back, taking notes or what have you. She's running a little late. That's why I'm filling in sort of as a pinch hitter here this evening, but it's, again, very important for us. So basically, after I'm finished introducing our moderators for this evening, we're just all going to sit in the back, and our only job here tonight is to listen to you. So it's important for you to feel free, regarding these questions or others that may come up in the discussion tonight, feel free to talk, to say as much as you need to say, and we're going to stay here until all of your input has been delivered to us. Right? So that's pretty much what we're expecting here this evening. And again, thank you so much for coming. Getting community input is the first crucial step before we ever even start looking on a nationwide search for who our next chief of police is going to be. So let me introduce your moderators for this evening, and I've got one of your microphones if you can grab the other. First of all, Pastor Eli Lauera. Was that close? I mangled it, didn't I? Lauera. There we go. Pastor Eli Loera from Family Christian Alliance is here as one of our moderators. And then Pao Yang, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Fresno Center. So let's give them a big round of applause as they start up. And after that, we're just talking member to member. Thank you.
All right, good evening. We're going to go over the process of tonight's community meeting. I was asked by the mayor to kind of be a co-host to moderate this particular community meeting because my organization, and we service the community out here in Southeast Fresno with the Fresno Center. We've been around here in Southeast since 1991, providing services to the community here. Our community in Southeast is one of the lowest income community in the city of Fresno. Average income in Fresno is $45,000 a year. That's a household income. Ours out here in Southeast is $22,000 a year. So our community is not doing well. I'm happy to be co-host and moderate this. We just want to remember to remind you to be respectful of your comments and languages. These are the 4 questions that we're gonna try to address. We want your thoughts on the city, your experience. Be open about it. Folks from the city are here to listen to us, and Eli and I will kind of guide you through these questions. Each community member have a minute or two to ask questions or to comment on any of your concerns. If you prefer to express your thoughts in writing, I think we have some paper over here so that you can write down your comments as well. And then at the conclusion, we will let you know our goal is to be here for 2 hours. We don't have to, but if we need to, we will be here. I just wanted to share that with you.
I'm Pastor Eli. I pastor on Cedar and Belmont. I've been pastoring 19 years in Southeast Fresno, so I'm in 93702, which is the third poorest zip code in the area. And I lived right here on Peach and Butler for 16 years, right on Butler. Now I'm highfalutin up there on Tulare and Temperance. So, I love this part of the community, and I know some of the challenges that we're facing. And I'm really excited to hear from you guys. And I hope we get a wide variety of concerns and we don't get stuck on one concern. I want to thank the city manager's not here, but the people from personnel and the mayor's office for allowing us to just speak our minds. Sometimes people just want to be heard and know that they were heard. And you see a small group and you're thinking, well, it's not a lot of people can hear it. It's going on TV and then anybody can access it at any time. And so you have the potential of being heard by the entire community. So represent Southeast Fresno really well with your comments. Amen? That means okay? All right. So,
All right, we'll start with the first question. What are the challenges in the city that you would like the new police chief to address? And as you come up, we need you to come up to the microphone and speak into the mic so that the video captures your voice. Anybody? What are the challenges in the city that you would like the new police chief to address?
I lead the Fresno Clovis pastors clusters. It's over 300 churches. And we discuss this. And always we hear it's homeless, 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 homeless. Lately we've been hearing sex trafficking. But we hear from the pastors and the business owners along the Kings Canyon corridor dealing with homeless people every day. And there's a big picture that the city has in dealing with the homeless, but it doesn't help me at 9 o'clock at night when I'm sitting there in front of my business. So when we say what do you think are the biggest issues challenging Southeast Fresno, business owners might say that it's homelessness. You might say it's something else. Well, this is the moment for you to say, hey, I think the biggest issue, and I don't think this is just Southeast, because at the Northwest, there was people from all over the city. So you don't have to live in Southeast Fresno to address. But what do you think is the biggest issue facing our community right now that you think, I hope this new police chief would have some experience in this area or has addressed it? So I would say, I think homelessness is the biggest issue facing my part of the community. But I don't want to be the only one to say that. If you agree with me, it'd be good for you to come to the microphone and say, you know what, I think that's it. But if you think it's something else, this is the time for you to voice that.
For me, especially our organization out here in Southeast Fresno, we like to see the police chief be from the city of Fresno, somebody that grew up in our neighborhood, somebody that understands who we are. Somebody that sometimes we want them to kind of look like us too, right? That's important to a lot of the clients that we serve. So these are some examples that Pastor Eli and I want to share with you folks. We encourage you to come up and also speak up. This is a time when we speak up. For those of you that just came in, we're addressing the first question. What are the challenges in the city that you would like the new police chief to address? And we're inviting the community to come up and speak your mind. And the mic is here.
You can just use mine.
Okay, thank you. Yes, my name is Pete Santillano, and I'm a retired Fresno police officer. You know, I started with the Fresno PD in 1969 and all the way till 2006 when I retired. And during my time that I was a police officer, I worked under 10 chiefs of police, and that was all mostly in major narcotics. But the 10 chiefs of police, only 2 were from out of the area, from out of the department. One was Chief George Hansen, and he was from Kansas City. And another one was Joe Samuels, that was up from the Bay Area. And they were only here a very, very short time. The reason I'm here is that I believe we should select a chief from within the police department. I read an article that said that the chief should hit the ground running, but I say, let's give the chief a head start, and that's by giving him one of our people that has earned the right to be chief of police, knows the community, and the people also know who he is. You know, you get somebody from out of town, and they don't seem to last, and that goes throughout the nation. Seems to be a stepping stone to advance to other departments. I'm still involved in Southeast. I run the Fresno PAL boxing program, and to me, it's a very successful program until our romaine got burned. Somebody burnt the roof on our gymnasium, so we're waiting until November to reopen it. But in my program, we deal with kids, at-risk kids, mostly Hispanic. Boxing is a Hispanic sport. And in my program, a successful program that's been run by the Fresno Police Department, the PAL, Police Activities League. Out of my program, we've had 37 national champions, and we've been to 5 different countries representing United States amateur boxing. And this is kids from off the street. One of our kids is going to be a world champion by next year, undefeated pro contract. He never traveled north of Shields Avenue until he came into our program, you know, and he had been to Russia and other countries. So youth, getting them off the street is really, really important to me. And again, I worked major narcotics from 1973 to 2006. So the drug issue, kids on drugs or anybody on drugs is a big, big issue with me. It's a big problem that we have. So those 2 things are, like I say, are what I look for the chief to address, the new chief, and hopefully he'll be from our community, from our department, from some place that he grew up here in the city of Fresno. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your service. We appreciate that. Thank you very much. That's 2 people who have voiced, because there's a lot of people taking notes. They would like the chief to come from within the program. Is there somebody else that would like to address the challenges that you think are facing that this chief needs to address immediately? Someone else. Come on up, Pastor. Good to see you.
Yeah, hey, I'm Brian King. I'm the director of Fresno EOC Street Saints, and I primarily work in Southwest, and now we're in Southeast, Roosevelt, But I think community engagement is going to be huge, especially for the African American community. There have been a rift, just not in the Central Valley, but throughout the nation, of African American and officers, and I would love to see this chief really come in and do some of the things that we even doing in Southwest. I mean, we're playing a community basketball game with the neighborhood guys and officers, and raising money to create junior police activity leagues and different things like that, to and so that we can begin to look at recruiting our own officers out of our own community. And so I think that there has to be definitely an effort in really trying to restore that relationship between African American men and the police department, because it's bad. Every time we look around, anything happens small, we turn it big. It's not just us, it's just the media sensationalizes everything that happens between African Americans and police officers. So if we can have a chief that knows community engagement, that knows the community and willing to put his feet on the ground, I think that'll be something that would be important for us as African American people.
Do you have someone in mind?
Oh, yeah. I ain't gonna say. Well, I mean, Salazar is, I love Captain Salazar. He has been the guy that has been on the ground with us. We built relationships with him, and now it's not people in Southwest saying, here come one time, or here come the police, they're saying, here come officer so-and-so, and here comes chief so-and-so, here comes lieutenant so-and-so. I have so many relationships now with officers that I never had growing up, and so because of the work that we've been doing on the ground in Southwest, I would definitely love to see a guy like Captain Salazar continue to be able to do what he's doing in Southwest throughout the whole city of Fresno.
All right, so another advocate for somebody from the department being hired. I'm leaning towards the captain from Southeast. So Brian comes from Chicago, from one of the largest gangs. He was a part of that, and now he's working, trying to get kids out of gangs and young men out of gangs in Southwest Fresno. So let me just recap what he said. So basically what he's saying is community policing is very important to you, that people don't just see the police as an adversary, us against the police. They need to see the police as a team working together with us in the community with things we're doing. That's basically, I think the word is, Roz, it's community policing, if I'm right. All right, someone else, before we move on to question 2. What are the challenges in the city that you'd like to see this new chief tackle? All right? Want to move on to number 2?
Yeah, I was going to add something to number 1. And, you know, it doesn't matter if you can address these questions up here. We were just starting with the first question because the answer, what you were looking for probably fits into the quality of that particular police chief. You know, we want somebody that have community engagement or is able to do community engagement. One thing that I as a citizen here want to address with the police chief or need the police chief to address is in the city of Fresno, we have 40,000 Hmong people that are Hmong speaking that lives here. A couple of years back, a young girl named Lucy Zhang, you guys probably heard about her in the news. She drowned in the canal. And I heard it on the news. I didn't get involved until after the fact. After they found her body was when her parents reached out to us and say, hey, can I get you to talk to the chief or to go to the police station with us because we don't have a translator. And of 15 Southeast Asian officers, not a single officer was asked to go to Lucy's parents' house. Mom and dad didn't speak English. And I asked them, did they bring an interpreter? And mom said, yeah. I said, where's that interpreter from? From Fresno Yosemite Airport. That's what the police department did. They brought an interpreter from the Fresno Yosemite Airport to go translate a potential homicide case. Talk about content competent. You know, and that's something that I had to address with the chief and also the mayor, and we kind of took care of that situation, but I was so disappointed as a nonprofit organization providing services to 40,000 Hmong community members that the Hmong has been here in the city of Fresno for 40 years, and we don't have an officer who can go and translate when we have 13 Southeast Asian officers in the Fresno PD. You know, so that was disturbing to me. So for me, I want the new police chief to address this concern that we have. And I haven't got a solution for it yet. So as a community member, I wanted to address that. I also encourage you guys to also think about experience like this or a similar situation where we need to let whoever is applying to be the police chief understand and know our concern and where we're coming from. Because these are actual issues that we have. It's not issues in LA, it's not issues in Sacramento, it's issue in the city of Fresno. And we need our chief who's gonna be in charge of protecting us and servicing us, because that's where our tax dollars are going to. So we have the right, we have the opportunity now to share with the city of Fresno our concerns and the type of person we want up there protecting us. I'm gonna come around with the mic. I know some of us are probably not comfortable coming up, so I'll bring the mic to you. Anybody else? I don't represent the city, folks. I'm one of you.
Well, if I could add, when you're saying what quality the police chief should have, what's the most important quality? I kind of like that we have a tough-looking police chief, that when he gets on TV and he says something, people take it serious. So when I look at the police chief, I kind of say, I want him to personally be able to kick the door down in my house if I'm being held hostage by somebody, me and my family. Now, somebody might say, well, I want him to be technically savvy, or I want him to be friendly. I want him to be able to kick the door down. If he can't kick the door down, maybe he shouldn't be leading our city. So you might say, okay, he just wants a tough guy. No, I want a guy who's whose physical presence and appearance is one of, he instills confidence. You see the police chief on TV a lot being interviewed. And it's very important, I feel, that he instills confidence in the people that he's protecting. So one of the qualities I would like to have in the police chief is that he can still kick a door down. Is there another quality that you'd like for the police chief to have? Blonde hair, blue eyes, brown hair, brown eyes?
Well, our quality is what we want the police chief to.
You have to speak into the mic.
The quality that we want of the next police chief is to be able to get along with all races and to be able to go into a community and police it without any prejudice, and to understand all different situations. That's what we need.
So culturally sensitive, culturally aware. I think Pastor Brian King was alluding to that in the same way, that right now he feels Officer Salazar walks in and he understands, even though he's a different culture, a different race, he's sensitive and culturally aware of the situation. I think that's important.
No prejudice. Get along with everybody and understand everything.
For some of the people that don't know me, okay, I used to be the president of the school site council here at Sunnyside High School and the president for the Southeast Neighborhood Watch Association, and also a commissioner for the city of Fresno, working with the city of Fresno and police department. So this lady right here knows me very well. I don't live here. I live in Merced. That's why I'm late. But the thing is, this was very important because I still have family here. And I will tell you, trying to catch my breath, trying to fly down here. One of the things that I see that needs improvement is that whatever quality of individual that the city would select has to know the city of Fresno and the growth, and also not just one area. We have several areas in Fresno where before the crime wasn't that high. Now it is. As Fresno is growing up north and people are moving in from all over, plus you have people that are coming in caravans also. So that's another challenge that they are going to have, and also to have enough police officers to maintain the city as it's growing. I just have a lot of ideas, but I think that the person should know and should have respect for all cultures and not just look at one nationality. Also from the business sector, and also for the seniors, and also for the young people, that, you know, the crime is here. And we either take care of our kids, the young people take care of the parents, which are seniors. And I will tell you, I am so glad that this lady is here because she's known me for many years. See, and I invested my time and everything, but I had to move to Merced County where they need me more over there, and I share a lot of what we did out here: crime rallies, neighborhood watch meetings. I mean, we did a lot of things out here where we involved the people and got to know our neighbors. And if anything, any crime in progress, we were the ears of the Fresno Police Department and worked collaboratively with the chief of police, dating way back with Winchester and then Jerry Dyer. So I just wanted to share that with everybody, and I'm sorry I am late, but I love Fresno a lot. I've been hearing the news and everything that's been going on. All these things, these steps that you're going through is great, but always remember that the individual that gets this position, he's got to be a people's person also as well, and be a caring person, especially for our seniors. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you.
When you say he has to know the community, are you saying you'd prefer to hire the chief from within the police force? Okay, that's the third person to say that. Oh, the fourth. I count in Spanish. Fourth. All right?
No, at the last meeting.
Oh, at the last meeting that was coming, that was pretty evident. All right, we have young people here, and I'd really like to hear from a young person of what you would like our next police chief to look like and be like, and what he be an expert in. And I don't know if you saw the paper over the last 2 days. 900 students, they polled this school. 900 students said they bought alcohol within a half-mile radius of this school. Around Roosevelt High School, there's 35 liquor vendors within a 1 mile radius. You go up north, that doesn't happen. So that might be an issue that it's affecting our young people. Drinking is a big issue already in high school. Is that the biggest issue facing the younger people? Is there a young person that would refute the Fresno B? Is there a young person? No, the biggest issue facing the high schoolers is there a young person that would speak bravely and might get the rest started? You're citizens of Fresno, young people. We need to hear from you. That whole thing that's happening is because it was young person led, where they're trying to limit liquor license now in Fresno. No new liquor licenses.
If you don't want to come up and speak, you can write it down and we can read your comments as well.
All right.
Because I know it's on TV, so.
All right, here we go. It's always the brave one. Share your heartbeat. Stand up so the camera can see.
Hi, my name is Elena Rojas. I'm 14 years old. And something I want to say is something I want to see in the police chief is I would want him to be a leader. I would want him to be able to hear everyone's issues and be able to do something about it and not just stay quiet like, oh, like you're this type of race, so I don't want to help you. No, like I want him to be able to help everybody and anybody that goes up to him saying, you know, I have this issue and I would want your help.
All right, so you wanted to be sensitive to young people. Okay. How do you feel about the resource officers in the school? Because in the last meeting, that was an issue. How do you guys feel about the resource officers? Or your friends, it doesn't have to be you. Just tell us how you feel about it. You're okay with them? Are you?
Do you have any comments on this?
I don't like them. Oh.
Do they help you? Okay, say that. She said, I like them. Say that.
I didn't say.
Oh, you said you don't like them?
They're supposed to be there to, I guess, make us feel safe, but all they do is stand there. Like, I mean, I have a cop at my school, and they really don't do anything. Like, they're just standing there, or like playing basketball with students when they're supposed to be keeping us safe.
Okay. That came up at the last meeting, so I'm glad you answered that. That's good. All right, so the young persons are aware. Someone else? Excuse me, sirs. If you could stand so the camera can see you.
Oh, God. Hi, everyone. I'm not going to make comments about the questions because I already did that online on the online survey, and they would probably be pretty controversial, so I'll spare you. But I did want to ask of Pao and the pastor if you could either now or at the end of the meeting share with people what's going to happen with these comments and what the process is going to look like. I don't know if there's anybody here from the research or from the search firm that's going to actually be conducting the chief search. That would be good to know who they are, how to reach them, and what the process will be beyond these meetings, because I don't see hundreds and hundreds of people. And I know people in Southeast Fresno have a lot of concerns, like the young ladies.
Yeah, that, city folks, that question is towards you.
Thank you for the question. I'm Jeff Cardell. I'm the Director of Personnel Services. We have retained Terry Black, recruiting firm. She is not here this evening. We will be sharing the comments from all of the surveys that have been submitted online, as well as from each of these 5 community meetings, so that she has a clear understanding of what the community is expressing the need should be in our next chief, what the next chief should look like, what sort of qualities they should possess. They're going to hear all of that so that they, as they review the applicants that are submitting their resumes for consideration. They're considering all of that information, as well as what the mayor and the city manager have expressed that they're looking for in that next leader who can lead this community and ensure that we're all safe.
All right, we'll go with the lady first.
I have a question. I was at last night's meeting, but that's not my question. My question is, I saw something where City of Fresno said that they really appreciated the process that happened with TCC, and as somebody who attended all of those 22 meetings, I could tell you that process was not perfect. So I'm hoping that not just the comments and the surveys, but I think the process, the choosing process is flawed in Fresno. I think there is too much favoritism of people who know one another or are friends with one another. There's too many backroom deals and too many sweetheart deals being made, and I just don't want that to happen with the chief of police. Fresno has a lot of issues, a lot of cultural sensitivity issues, and I think that if there's further training on cultural sensitivity, I don't know if Brian King addressed this, but that the city needs to have, the citizens need to have input on that training, because something is missing. Something is missing in that process, and if we can't make diversity work in Fresno, it's not going to work anywhere in the world.
First up there, and then the gentleman in the white shirt.
Okay, my question to this gentleman, you represent the City of Fresno Human Resources? Correct. Okay, and you said there was an individual that's overseeing this committee? Okay, is she the only one that's that's overseeing? They don't have an assistant?
No, they're not overseeing. It's a search firm.
Right, it's a search firm.
Yeah.
Okay, and I mean, to me,
They don't make the decision on who's hired. That's made by the city
But
manager
I'm saying
and the
that
mayor.
as important it is to the people of the city of Fresno, it's important for us to see who is that person. See, I mean, you can get all the information here from what the people here would like to see, but that other person is not here. And usually you have a representative, from that firm come here
Can I
and
address
taking
that?
notes and
The firm
information.
that was hired, their job is to go out and recruit candidates, to find candidates. Their job is not to choose a candidate.
No,
Now,
but to
you're
get
saying you
information.
want to meet every candidate?
I'm just saying the information that's being brought up here from these people here. See, so that's what I'm looking at. See, so, and I think is it that important to them? Let's just don't go and sweep this stuff underneath the rug. I would like to see those individuals that are going to be involved. I really like to see that. Thank you.
And then the gentleman here in the white shirt.
What will be the direct interaction the consulting firm will have with community members?
It's not a consultant.
The recruiting firm actually is having direct contact with the city staff, the mayor, manager's office, myself, but not necessarily the community at large directly, no. The consultant, the recruiter that is conducting this effort as consistent with recruiters who do this effort across the nation. That's the manner in which they work.
How will they know what qualities we are looking for as citizens, and who to look for and who to recruit if they're not interacting with us directly?
The first thing, who to recruit. We have, as a city organization, identified that a chief has to have certain minimum qualifications in terms of training, experience, being in a position that demonstrates that they have that command presence, that they can lead a force of not only the sworn staff but the non-sworn staff, and be responsive to a community, a very diverse community, first and foremost. And I've said this in another public session, especially in front of the city council, that our first concern is that the person's qualified. If they're not qualified, none of us are interested in them. Secondly, we are providing all of this information, all of this input We are summarizing all of that. We are giving that not only directly to the city manager with her presence being here and at each of these meetings, and we are translating all of that back to the recruiter so that the recruiter understands not only the minimum qualifications, but the uniqueness of the city of Fresno. There's only one city of Fresno, California. So what does that city of Fresno look like? What are the citizens telling us? That's what we share with the recruiter so that the recruiter can then take all of that information and do her job.
I have a follow-up question to that, which is that I still don't get, I mean, I understand it's helpful, the information you've just shared, but I still don't get a sense as to what the process will look like and when, at what point will the input be considered? Will the search firm consider, hey, if I only have 3 questionnaires filled out, do I need to do something different before proceeding? Or will the hiring committee, will there be a hiring committee with community members on it? Or will the people's input just kind of be an afterthought once the finalists are already selected? I mean, I have 100 more and I can write them down, but.
The community input is not an afterthought. If it was an afterthought, we would have already developed a pool of candidates and then conducted community meetings to try to figure out what sort of input do we need at that point. This is on the front end. We've retained the search firm and have started some groundwork. But the surveys, and there hasn't just been 3, there's been hundreds of surveys that have been submitted online. I can't give you an exact number, but I know it's been hundreds, could be thousands at this point. There's also surveys here that people can take with them. Same survey questions that are online that you see up here as well. The process. Ultimately, the process is something that's defined by the city manager. Conversations to date have centered around how we are going to involve community members as part of the interview process, part of the screening process that will help us not only translate this information, but then also apply it as we sit down face to face with a select number of qualified candidates and try to identify who is that candidate who has the right mettle, who has the right skill set, who has the ability to sit in that chair and lead this organization and keep us all safe. That's their job, to keep us all safe, day in and day out, 24/7, 365. And that's going to be a hard thing for anybody to do. But that's the process that we will use, that ultimately the city manager will then consider all of that information, process all of that data, and be in a position to sit down with that individual and say, I'd like to offer you the job because I think you're ready. I think you're the person for it.
I have a question. Where is the recruiter from? And is that recruiter familiar with Fresno?
The recruiter is from up north. Yes, she is familiar with Fresno. She's done some work for us previously. She has a sense of the community. She has a sense of the organization. She has a sense of our form of government.
She's placed police chiefs in other larger communities.
Thank you. Yes, she is. She has definitely conducted similar efforts elsewhere, and those individuals have been successful.
It's important to say that they're not hiring the person. The citizen that was just here said, we want to interview candidates. How do we get the committee on the interview process? That's a public deal. And I want you to understand, let's say an assistant chief from LA comes here and interviews. It's going to be a public process. They found out in LA now that this guy's out trying to get a job and leave them. That could affect his future in his police department, and it could affect his family's livelihood. So I don't know if it would be prudent to have a public interview for candidates that are risking losing their future and what they have going there. Ultimately, that recruiting firm is not hiring. They're just putting out the feelers and going and searching. That's very important. Any more questions or comments?
I just have one more.
Okay, this is your third one.
are they considered anybody, in other words, within our department or for promotion into the position?
They can apply. I mean, they can apply. From what I understand, they can apply. 4 people have said, of the ones that spoke, they want somebody from within. Of the ones that have spoke here, they want somebody from within. So I'm under the understanding they can apply, just like, let's say somebody doesn't contact the research firm, but they see the opening, they're welcome to apply. They're welcome to apply. Absolutely. All right, someone else. There's a lot of people here that haven't asked a
I
question.
think what I'm hearing from our community it needs to be addressed to the city manager. The concern is we don't want a lot of our comments and concern to fall on deaf ears. And for us to have that concern is a concern. For this young lady to say that, the resource officer here at Roosevelt High School is not here to protect us. He's playing around basketball with folks and he's really not looking out for us. That in itself is a concern. And we need to address this with the police chief, but I think we need to address this with the city manager, so that as the city manager is trying to secure that search firm, they know what the concern are from the citizens. And I get what this gentleman is saying. A lot of our concern is it falling on deaf ears, since you probably have, what we're thinking from the community side, you probably have the candidate already, and you're just doing all of this to make everything look good. Because it's not the first time we've seen it. It's happened multiple times on multiple key positions. That's a perception of us from the community. And that's a perception from the 3,000 folks that we serve every month. That's the perception. And a lot of them are not here tonight. But I hear this from them, and I'm sharing this, and this is their concern. And we won't be able to say this to the police chief yet because he's not hired, but we can address this to the city manager who's going to hire the police chief, so that you can address our concern with the search firm. And I think that's a concern of a lot of the community tonight. Or she.
Is there any other question? Okay. All right.
My name is Wilma Kwan. I'm the city manager. I've been serving as city manager for almost 2 years now, and I apologize that I was late. My son had an open house at Computech, but I attended the Tuesday night meeting, and all of this community input is very, I think it will help to inform the process along the way, and it's good for me to hear what the community needs, so, yeah.
The reason I asked that question.
You need a microphone.
Pardon me.
Oh, the reason I asked that question is because usually when he addressed that question about the city manager, and I think I was a thorn in the last city manager they had and the previous one too, so, and also the chief also as well, and he can tell you himself. I was hoping he would be here so he can tell you, in other words, but I think that those questions that we are addressing to you, I think that, if you're not documenting, that somebody should be taking minutes of it.
Yeah, there's
Thank
several
you
people.
very much.
All right, here's another question.
It's an answer to one of the questions. So my name is Reverend Simon Bias. I'm a Presbyterian pastor in here in Fresno, and I'm a part of Faith in Fresno, part of the Clergy Caucus, a board member for Fresno Interdenominational Refugee Ministries, FIRM, which has a large influence in Southeast Fresno, as well as Center for New Americans. And one of the things that I think would be really important for our next police chief to have is experience in community policing. And by community policing, I don't just mean putting out some bounce houses and a barbecue every once in a while, but that community policing is a part of the day-to-day operation of actual officers on the ground, that people in the neighborhood, we know who the officers are, we know their name, they know our name, and in a way that maybe we haven't had experience with the police department in the past, with community policing. So that would be a priority for me. Successful history in community policing. The second thing is that they would have experience with programs such as Advanced Peace that use innovative ways of ending violent crimes and gun violence, that it's not just reacting to crimes, reacting to gun violence, but there is preventative work that's being done by the city as well as the police chief and the police department.
Thank you. That's what we're looking for, concerns and ideas. Anyone else that hasn't shared? All right.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer. I'm a Health Youth Ambassador with Fresno Barrios Unidos, and I'm here today to speak on behalf of our youth. I work with Women Empowered, which is a group for young women and gender nonconforming folks, and with that, I want to make sure that our next police chief has the intentions and clear intentions to the community of having an involved youth commission to serve as advisors when it comes to community issues. And I say involved because I know that in the past there has been efforts at this, but they have lacked authenticity. So I want to ensure that this next time around that youth are authentically listened to and engaged, and that there is an active and involved youth commission.
And great idea, great idea. All right, right there, right in front of you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to be the odd man out here because I think I would like to see the new police chief come from outside. I think the good old boy system is done. I'm tired of it. And so I want somebody fresh and new, not somebody who's been in the force and, been involved in racist acts and gun violence, blah, blah. And I'm tired of it. So somebody from outside. The other thing is community policing is vital. About a year ago, maybe two, I took a walk down with a group of activists down at St. Rest Baptist Church, and we went to an apartment complex down there. And we were talking to young men who were playing basketball. And, they don't know their officers in the neighborhood. And that's a sad state of affairs when that's what needs to happen with youth from, the ages of 14 to 19. And since they don't see them down there, I was bothered by that. Next. I want to address her, the resource officer. Sometimes they are playing basketball because they're trying to blend in with the students to have the students respect them, and so they do kind of jump in sometimes and do those things. I wouldn't want her to feel that he wasn't keeping her safe. And so I don't know where the fine line is there. But I have seen them on high school campuses jump into a game or whatever because, that just makes them seem like real people, rather than somebody you don't like, around. Thanks.
Amen. All great ideas. All great ideas.
You talk about community involvement by the police officers. Like I said, I was a police officer, patrol officer in 1969, and I was assigned to the west side. One police officer knew I could get out at that time. There wasn't a lot of people in Fresno at that time, and so we had the opportunity to get out of the patrol car, walk in the neighborhoods, and people knew me in Chinatown and then over on Kearney Boulevard. I knew the people personally, and I could help them. But now we need a chief of police that can give us more police officers, because community-based policing requires police officers. And the way the police officers now, they're going from call to call. I know that because my daughter's a police officer, Fresno police officer, and they are busy. From the time they start to the time they check out, they're busy. So we do need a police chief that can have the resources to give us community-based policing. We're not going to have that unless we have a bigger police department, more police officers. Because city of Fresno is huge. And if you don't believe that, try to go down 41 at 4:30 to around 6 o'clock, and you see how big Fresno is. It looks like Los Angeles. Thank you.
All right. So let me re-say what he said. He says we need more funding to have more officers to do community policing.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kimberly McCoy. I am Project Director for Fresno Building Healthy Communities. I hear a lot about community policing, but we need to have a conversation about what that is and how it looks like. We cannot just keep hiring officers because we want our communities to be safe. I work with thousands of residents every day, and when we talk about community policing, we talk about investment in programs, investment in parks, investment in our youth, investment in our seniors, investment in our communities with affordable housing, not apartments stacked on top of each other. So when we talk about community policing, there needs to be a conversation in Southeast Fresno, Southwest Fresno, North Fresno, all over Fresno about what community policing looks like and how it should be executed in our communities. And another thing, we need to invest in our youth. We need a chief that's going to invest in our youth, that's going to invest in our community, that's going to be open and honest and be accountable and be transparent. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Norwood McCoy. I'm the husband of Kimberly McCoy. Something I want to see, I don't say too much, but I've been watching TV, and my wife and her organization was for a Measure P for parks to help the kids and get us out there and get running. The kids don't even get outside anymore. I want to see a chief to come in that's not a political figure. Do not come in here and shut down things that we need, far as parks. You know, if the city and the community needs it, they need it. It shouldn't be something that should be debated, well, we need more cops over here, or we need more of this. We already got enough of that. They got enough guns at the police officer thing to win a war 10 times over. Let's get somebody in there that's not politically driven.
All right, so just to reiterate for those taking notes, Mrs. McCoy said that there needs to be a larger conversation of what community policing looks like, because it might look different here. And did I hear you say community policing involves the community? The community needs to get more involved. I heard that. And this is the leader of Neighborhood Watch, so get her card before you leave. Then I heard Mr. McCoy said we want a police chief that's less politically involved. And then you mentioned Measure P that didn't pass, that's coming back again, and this time as a 10% sales tax, not 7.9. So he's already in favor of the 10% sales tax to have more. No, you're not? Okay. All right. No, they were going for 7.9.
There's still negotiations being done about Measure P. Even if we decide to come back in 2020, there's still a lot going on with Measure P that we cannot discuss right now.
You can't?
What you just said is not true.
I voted for it then, and I would vote for 10%.
That's fine.
I would vote for 10%.
And I also said that there needs to be accountability and transparency in our new chief.
Okay.
They did have a tax on because he's in the city. But I don't need to see my 10% going over to police officers. Their fund, and they already got it.
Okay. Okay. So I don't want a police chief that's politically involved, and in this measure, I don't think money needs to go to the police. Okay.
51% of every dollar that's generated already.
Okay.
Plus they get money for contracts with Fresno Unified School District for the resource officers. From what you said, they're really just stand around and be intimidating. So we need to invest back in our community, invest in our youth, invest.
Okay. All right. Someone else?
I said that we won't really need to give the police department any more money. They generate 51 cents out of every dollar that's generated in Fresno every single day. So we need to give more money and investment to our youth, to our seniors, and to our community. That's where the money needs to go. They already have a contract with Fresno Unified School District for resource officers. From what the youth said, just stands around and be intimidating. It's time to invest in our city, invest in our communities, invest in our youth. We don't need a police chief that's here to go higher up in office. We need a police chief that knows Fresno, that knows the issues, that knows the problems, and want to correct the problems and build relationship with community. That's what we need, and that's what we're looking for.
Less politics, right? All right. Here's somebody who hasn't spoken yet.
Thank you. My name is Joel Murillo. At midnight 1985, in an alley in central Fresno, the police surrounded a young man who had a gun. and they shot him about 67 times. There were statements made that the police were shooting at his feet to try to shoot off his toes. We don't need a police chief like that anymore. Max Downs was a police chief at that time. In 3 other incidents, that 1986, 3 Latino boys were killed in incidents that were very similar to incidents that occurred in North Fresno, where the police were able to calm down the situation and no deadly force was used in those very similar incidents involving white young men. So we need a police chief that does not partake in that sort of game playing, shooting off toes. I think it's also very difficult in making this selection to find somebody who is ready, willing, able, and exceptionally well qualified from within the police department. In the police department, we've had a history of Ku Klux Klan. We've had a history of people of their own color being excessively repressive and oppressive against people of their own color. And so at that point in time, 809, Municipal Code Section 809, was attempted to be modified to what is now in the legislature so that police officers are not able to kill somebody and then go back before the incident and justify that they had a reasonable belief that their life was in danger. That needs to be changed too, but it's not a part of choosing the chief of police. It's a part of knowing what the philosophy is of the candidates. So, as to whether we ought to choose somebody from the inside or somebody from the outside, this is a very difficult task, because if anybody really knows Fresno and its history with its police department, who would want to come from the outside to be our police chief? We had that before. After Max Downs, we had Chief Joseph Samuels, an African-American police chief. He was not supported by the rank-and-file white officers. He was forced to leave, but he also moved upward. He became the chief of police of Oakland. We've had people like Art Venegas, who from our police department have gone on to become police chiefs elsewhere. Art Venegas became the chief of police in Sacramento. Nevares is currently in Delano, a very difficult post in and of itself. So there are quality people within the force, but it's very difficult to be trusting of these officers, of these captains, like Mike Salazar, if we are going to say that he or somebody else in the upper ranks is on the inside and ready to move up. They are tainted. They are tainted by the same things that have happened in the past with suppressed people of color. Historically suppressed people of color in the city of Fresno have suffered very much. After Chief Joseph Samuels, we had Chief Winchester, and he was a caretaker manager style police chief. Waiting in the wings was Jerry Dyer. And on August 1st, 2001, we had the ceremony for Jerry Dyer. We've had one of his most trusted people convicted of selling drugs. How could he not know something like that? Well, it's possible that he did not know. I believe that he did not know. But it leaves this a very difficult thing for us to be hiring somebody from the inside if that is what happened with one of our deputy chiefs. So we're in a conundrum. We have a difficult choice to make. And one other thing that was mentioned earlier, I think about the Hmong, correct? Saying that they already know who they want. They're going to build the job announcement. They're going to build our confidence in the system. They're going to build the persons that they want into the final categories. And from there, they're going to make their choice. But we're not going to be able to, as this gentleman said, see all of the candidates because, as this gentleman said, it's difficult for those candidates to expose themselves for different reasons. But by virtue of the fact that they want this high office, their exposure is vital to us to know who it is that will make this city a better city. We've heard today about people talking about preventive policing, preventive government. We need to invest in ensuring that we have as much preventive government in the city of Fresno as possible. I live in the north side. I come to work over here, and people over there say, I don't ever go down there unless I have jury duty. This is not a town where there is a community. This is a town where there are communities. There are people from Clovis who mock people from Fresno. There are people from the countryside who love to come to Fresno because this is it. In 1969, there were about 70,000 people in the city of Fresno. Did you want to stop me? Here. No, I'm going to say what I want to say, and I don't want you to interfere with me again.
Yeah, there's a lot of people here.
Does anybody else want me to go? Does anybody else want me to stop?
Yeah. You have the right? You have the right to speak what's on your mind.
Okay, here you go.
Do you feel like you share what you
No, I did not finish my speech. I was not making a speech. I was speaking from the heart and from the history I know of the city of Fresno.
All right.
Now, Pastor Eli,
Yes.
I was born in a church.
All right. Do you feel like you shared what you wanted, the chief?
No, I have not finished, not even half. Then step away and let me finish. The community needs to have input into this process and not be bullied into stopping our input into this process. I forget your name, Officer Quintana? Santiano. Narcotics officer. His 2 daughters were in the police force. We need to honor people like that. They have a perspective that we need in order to solve our problems. Our problems are very severe, but they're manageable if we look at them from the perspective of preventive government. And that's what I would like to see in a chief of police. Somebody who has a history of knowing where it is that these problems are coming and nip it at the source. I told you that I was born in a church, and that's because my grandfather was a minister, and my cousin is worldwide known, Mario Murillo. Okay? So When I was 5 years old, I was taken to Reedley Beach, and this was what they did with 5-year-olds in this church. We were at the beach, and all of a sudden a person came by, and the pastors here will know this story. And he was acting like he was drowning. To us, he was drowning. So the men went out and they dragged him in. Again and again and again. Finally, somebody said, let's go see what's causing this. And the whole congregation walked up to the bridge, and we found that somebody was pushing people into the water. And that's what we need to do here. Why do we need to have more police when we're putting mentally ill people on the streets who are causing problems? We're causing those problems. Why do we need to have these jails full of drug addicts when they really need to have treatment for their drug addiction, for their alcoholism? This is where we need to spend our money. That's what I heard some of the people say. And I pray to God that the person that we bring here, that she be a superhero able to solve these problems. Because if they're going to step in, that person's going to step into Jerry Dyer's shoes, then it's going to take a superhero to stay here in Fresno. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to want very much to solve the problems of this city. And I believe that a critical person is the chief of police. There's a lot of confidence in Jerry Dyer. But we need to be welcoming also to the next person and give that person the benefit of the doubt and keep the rank and file from sabotaging that person's ability to make certain that the police force is aware that there's a city over there and there's a city over here. And that the people over there, they make the decisions about what happens over here. And we, people over here, are the ones who are poor, of color, and historically suppressed, and we cannot allow anybody else to come into this city to make it worse. We can only hope that the next person will raise this city up, because, as Lee Brand said, this might be the most important decision we make, especially for the generations that come, especially for the children.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Buenas tardes a todos. Yo vengo del pueblo de Delhi, del condado de Merced.
So she said, good evening to all. I come from Delhi, from the county of Merced.
Mi nombre es Blanca Lozano.
My name is Blanca Lozano.
Soy líder del pueblo de Delhi.
I'm a leader of the city of Delhi.
Vine a dar mi opinión.
I came to give my opinion.
Porque me interesa mucho esta ciudad de Fresno.
Because I'm very interested in the city of Fresno.
Ya que oigo muchas noticias malas de Fresno.
Because I hear a lot of bad news regarding Fresno.
Y principalmente, como está diciendo el señor que acaba de hablar.
And first of all, the same issues that the gentleman who just finished speaking.
Que necesita Fresno un mejor jefe de policía.
That Fresno needs a better chief of police.
Que necesita mejores policías entrenados.
And Fresno needs better trained police officers.
Para vigilar toda su ciudad.
To look after the entire city.
Me gustaría que cuando el jefe de policía, que escojan el mejor,
I would like to see that the city of Fresno chooses the best of the best.
tomara en cuenta el sitio que va a tomar
take in count the site that he is taking over,
y que cuide el pueblo de Fresno,
And
digo, la ciudad de Fresno,
and he takes care of the city of Fresno.
y los que cuidan la ciudad de Fresno son los policías.
And those that take care of the city of Fresno are the actual police officers.
Me gustaría que él les mandara a dar un mejor entrenamiento
I would like to see that the chief of police send the officers to better training,
porque cuando ellos se enfrentan con gente en sus problemas,
because when they come toe to toe with people with their problems,
no dispararan nomás por disparar,
they don't just shoot them just to shoot,
sino que tomaran técnicas cómo enfrentar a la gente que están enfrentando el problema.
I'd rather see them have training to deal with situations when they're confronting problems that people have.
Porque muchas veces la gente no está armada,
Because many times the people aren't even armed,
pero ellos disparan.
but they shoot.
Y ahí está el problema.
And that is where the problem lies.
¿Cómo enfrentar los policías con la gente que está haciendo algo mal?
How to confront the people, the officers with the public that is wrongdoing.
Le deseo la mejor suerte a toda la ciudad de Fresno, que tengan el mejor jefe de policía.
I wish the city of Fresno all the luck to pick the best chief of police.
Buena suerte para todos.
Best of luck to all.
Y Dios los bendiga a todo Fresno.
And God bless all of Fresno.
Thank you.
Is there anything?
2 young people have their hands up, 2 young people that have not spoke yet.
Hello, my name is Natalie Barajas, and I'm a student at Fresno City College. And I like to say that not all issues happening in the city of Fresno need to be policed. For example, there's the homeless task force in the police department, and that force doesn't help solve the problem of homelessness. All they do is tell the homeless person to go away or to move. In order for some of the issues that the city is facing to be solved, we need funding to actually go towards programs or resources to help the residents of Fresno, like the homeless population, instead of paying police officers to do surveillance. Because when funding actually directly goes towards helping the people, the Fresno as a community can thrive as a whole.
Hello, my name is Adani. I work for Communities for New California, and I'm also a student at Fresno City College. One thing that I would like to see is full transparency from the chief of police. We need to know what his moves are, what he's doing. Also, I understand that there are some laws that we worked hard to implement into the system, and we need a chief that's going to maintain those laws and not try to remove them after we worked so many years into getting them in motion.
Right here in the front.
Yes, I'd like to speak. My name is Dolores Scondres Mosley, and I'm a licensed security guard. I got all these documents here if anyone wanted to check out my character, because a lot of times we want to be judged more than by our character of our skin. And so a lot of times when I go down to that city hall trying to get justice, it seems like they just shun you off. And I met with Chief Darswell today, because you know I'm very upset with him, because I've been trying to get justice since 2014, going through every kind of your system of filing complaints, of internal investigations, even with Ms. Sheriff's men's office, because I have family that works on your sheriff squad. You have black and white mixture marriage in these families like mine. The biggest clan, Scottish clan, that came out here years ago, like these other big clans came out here. I'm from the West Side, the Golden West Side, and when I see so much crime, just like in the beginning when I met Chief Dar today, I had to remind him about when he first took office. his son or his nephew, there was a raid at his house regarding cocaine. And he had to think for a minute when I seen him outside City Council this meeting. He said, "You're right, that was my nephew." And so I said, "You see, Chief Dyer, I have people in my family as well that are doing wrong things in that sheriff department. And it's a shame when you have family that's doing maybe even drug dealing on the west side of the sheriff squad, and they make drug houses go away and stolen cars. There's a problem with that Miss Sheriff squad. And if anybody want to review some of my internal investigation files of what I'm talking about, because see, I gave a 269-page memo sent by certified mail, everything with my complaint to be investigated by Chief Dyer's office that was received on 6/18/18 by Mike Webbs at the Internal Investigation Office. And when he called me on the phone with my 269 pages of a victim of abuse by the police department, when a white woman came forward in my condominium where I lived 3 years ago with my security guard uniform on, and I'm a child of God, baptized in the water at 3 years old by the late Reverend Chester Riggins. And with me out there doing my ministry and posting on Facebook, I'm always taking pictures of nature, everything. And this white woman moved into my condo that decided she didn't like any black people. And she had the most horrific plot to ruin my life. She started calling the police on me, reported me like I was a woman out here crazy, imposing to be a security guard. I mean, they had detectives at my house in time like I was crazy. And I ended up losing my residency behind all this false police reporting. And I was getting abused so bad trying to prove my case. Then it took a wonderful white woman, because back in the day, I prayed to her and cried to her on my knees that she could have been lynched, coming out the woodwork to tell a detective bunch and a bunch of other police was at my house that day. She came into my condo in private and told them the most horrific story that you would never believe, that a white woman had plotted to horribly mess me up. And this stuff was investigated through the Fair Housing, Employment, everything, to show all the horrific stuff she done back to me. All my little white friends witnessed this stuff. And then when it came down to, then when we went back to do the investigation and all the police reports on this white woman named Nikki, she was a bombshell looking like a Marilyn Monroe. So they believed everything that came out of Nikki's mouth. But in the end, Nikki was the best white liar with this police department. When I went down to the police department and told this story to all the people down there, and when they pulled all my police reports, how we was trying to find out Nikki's last name, they had no Nikki's last name. So they made it so hard for my subpoena to be served on this person to get justice. So that's where my file is still left hanging right now. So then after my attorney's investigator from the Fair House Employment found another way to get her last name with all the records I've been doing, and when she calls my housing in time, I made so much ruckus, the homeowner association made herself get out the condo too, because she was blessed to even have a place to stay. And she caused me so much harm. And I tried to get justice, and they wanted to, and then the city council, the whole city council, I took that 269 complaint, gave it to them. Mayor Lee Brown, Esmeralda, the whole panel, on the day where all the black folks was in there playing about that Moscone building, how they built on the west side. How you gonna build a big building with no air conditioning for black people? That's a form of racism. And so that same day, I gave them my big stack of paper this big, and they're gonna make copies of it. Until this day, almost 2 months later, they have made the file disappear. So I told Mr. Dyer today, while they down there trying to get SB 230 passed in regards to this more training for police officers, I told them that big file that they made go away, that I had investigated all the police, I'm a good security guard, and an investigator too. I was labeled a spot in my 20s. I cannot work for IRS anymore because my brain scans everything. I am the real Lucy, That movie they made, I am that Lucy with that brain so bad. I am that African warrior from Judah. No, I'm not done yet, because like she said about that program we need, there's fraud going on in Fresno. Like they say, we should be helping our communities out more with money. And let me tell you some fraud right now.
Can you address the police chief hiring?
Yes.
And what you would like to see from the police?
Well, okay, main thing from him, like I told Chief Dart today, this correction measures will be better. And criminally prosecute them. And I wanted to speak at the hearing today before they did the count to pass AB 230, because see, I wanted them to add some more on there, not just for the officers out arresting people, to be fair, because see, I have all my files here. See, these policemen, they so desperate for money for parking tickets too. They will write you a ticket on your car, and you still got time.
A new chief that will not or will.
We need to have some more oversee and how they correcting these police, because they just can't do it in-house. In-house their own policemen. Because see, this is the problem. Every time I had a problem stopping Chief Dyer in public, you know what he told me to do? He told me to go contact his detective bunch. And I told him I wouldn't get nowhere with Detective Bunch.
So
and I called him.
Outside oversight.
Yeah, like we used to have. We didn't used to have them inside, they cannot mandate their own policemen. They have shown me. They cannot police their, you know it's so bad? Because after all the stuff I've been going through, these policemen, my son got fired from 2 jobs. We have been to school for law enforcement, my son. And with me being such a revolutionary, that Detective Bunch so mad at me, they told me to hurry and get out of my condo. They had the behavior specialist over there. They offered me money. But I said, I cannot get out of my condo until I transfer my Section 8. So we got problems in this police department and this behavior mental health. Because like my girlfriend said, don't I have rights? If I have been crazy in my apartment, don't I have rights? I was in my apartment, and you had a woman lying on me like I'm crazy, just outside taking pictures.
See it like this. So you want a chief of police that gives more training or is trained in dealing with mental health issues?
That too, and like I say, they're all kind of mental. They're all kind of mental. Because anytime you believe anything that come out of a white woman's mouth, just because she's saying it, that's wrong. And then when it's investigated,
outside overseeing.
Exactly.
And more mental health training in the chief.
And like I say, these programs, they probably have programs right now to help people in my community. I live in a 300+ community. I've been trying to contact Chief Mayor, the whole council, about this so-called community to help people on drugs. The Fresno County Behavior Specialist is funding the parks at the FIG, all kind of funding for people with disorders. Plus, they help them with job training, scholarships, day camp for their children, and it's all a joke. I tried to volunteer for the program because they just had this.
Back to the chief.
Yeah.
Back to the
well,
chief.
this is like I say.
Okay,
all this stuff. If we probably help these people on drugs, then we need to stop stealing their money, because there's programs now acting like they're helping these folks on drugs. And out of the blue, so I've been making so much ruckus about this stuff. I've been having so many investigators call me out the blue, taking information, posting all this on my Instagram page, Facebook, all these files and stuff that they don't look up in Fresno. So there's some anomalous investigations going on. Because like I say, Chief Dyer wants to retire in peace, but how he done this cowgirl from the west side, it's going to be kind of hard.
Thank you.
Pick a side and do some more.
Thank you.
But I'm not done yet. This cowgirl. For this first day of the Clovis rodeo.
Right. Is there anybody who has not shared that would like to share?
Hello, everyone. My name is Alexandria Ben, and I'm from CNC, and I'm also a student at Fresno City College. So Fresno has a history of redlining, and our communities are still seeing the effects of it to this very day. And if anything, I would want to see from the new chief, I would like to see from the new chief just not only to break down the walls that's already been built, not only through working on the inside out. Like, I was talking to it's a student at Fresno City, and he was having trouble in his apartment. One of his neighbors basically took a knife to his car, and the police basically told him, if you were smart, you would have insurance. And it was a white officer telling a black man. And it's just like, if anything, I would want a police chief that will actually make sure that he can hold his officers accountable at all times, each and every word that they say. So, thank you.
Good, thank you. Back in the back.
Well, I think our current police chief is doing really well. I live in Southeast Fresno, and I've seen them come over to our neighborhood and things like that. But for the next chief, I do feel that he should be more culturally sensitive and maybe hire more culturally sensitive police officers. A lot of my community members do not speak English, and so if they can understand the culture a little bit, ways to communicate with our elders and things like that, I would really appreciate that. But maybe more connection to nonprofit organizations or organizations out there that are already helping the community that are underserved and working together with other agencies.
And address some of the questions up here. Number one, what are the challenges of the city? We have a huge meth problem here in Fresno, California. We're all aware of that. This is like the meth capital of the world. And we see all the consequences of meth use. And I think that's a huge obstacle that's in the way of our city moving forward, especially with our youth today. I mean, the drug is so cheap, it's so addictive, and it can be found in every part of town. Everybody seems to be doing it. Everybody's families and their children's lives are being affected by this drug. And I'd really like to see that a task force or more engagement with the federal, state, and the community working together to tackle that problem. Because drugs is a huge problem here, and poverty is a huge problem here, and that's part of the solution is having those economic opportunities available to our children, to our adults, and living here in the Fresno County, Fresno City area. The gang is a big thing too. Because of the poverty, we have a lot of gang activity here in Fresno, in different parts of town. I grew up in West and East Fresno, and I used to run the streets with a lot of different people, doing some things I shouldn't have been doing, but by the grace of God, I had opportunities available to me, and I took advantage of those. Some of those were some youth employment opportunities, working with the after-school programs, with the community center, Sunset Community Center specifically. And so I engaged in those boxing and stuff like that. So when those were made available to us, like the PAL, the Police Activities League, they can utilize more funds into PAL and really get out into the community and turn back towards community policing. When I grew up, everybody in my neighborhood knew who the police officer was, everybody knew who the drug dealer was, everybody knew who the working folks was, and everybody was able to come together and have an understanding. So when things went down, there was an understanding within the community. You didn't have the shootings and the arrests that you have now. And also I'd like to see that the city manager, when he looks to hire from within the department. There's people who've been putting their lives on the line day in, day out for the city of Fresno, who love Fresno, who Fresno loves them. And we need those people so if you go to do a search within your department. You have good people who've grown up here, spent their lives at the department, serving this community, serving Fresno, and they deserve that opportunity. They've earned that right. They know the people, they know the culture, they know us, and we know them. And also, cultural competence, cultural understanding, cultural humility is very important. I would personally like to see a person of color hold this position. I don't know how many people of color in the past have held this position, but I would like to see that a person of color actually have an opportunity and a chance to be police chief here in Fresno. Thank you.
So I have one more question. How will we know that everything that we're saying at these meetings are actually going to be put into consideration? How will we actually know, since we don't even choose this chief?
This has been addressed a lot, but for you, we'll just say that a report will be compiled of all the comments from every meeting that will be given to the people that are doing the recruitment and the people that are making the decision. The mayor wants to hear from the community, and he's going to get a very long report. This is what the community is saying. Because like tonight, I don't know if you've noticed, we've repeated some things, so it won't be a list, it'll be a report. This is what they're looking for.
Okay.
So the people making the decision will take that into consideration. And I'm glad they're doing this. You know how many communities don't do this?
And if we don't get to see the candidates, how do we even know who's going to, how will we even know it's actually a good person in that office?
We elect officials that represent us. Like we have Chavez here who represents us, and they're more involved in that process. And then we elected a mayor, and then he hired somebody, and we trust that they're our representatives. They're not there representing themselves. They're our representatives. So we trust in the process that they represent us when they're doing these interviews, when they're meeting with people.
Yeah, and these sessions are also recorded. CMAC is recording it, so it's being played over and over again, and hopefully, as a community member, whoever the candidates are, you guys can play these sessions so they can hear and get to see their citizens.
So will we be able to find this footage anywhere, or is it just for your personal?
You can just Google CMAC. It'll take you to YouTube, to their channel, and you can watch all of these. There's already been 2? This is the second one.
Oh,
so
okay,
you can watch them all.
Okay, thank you.
It's CMAC.
CMAC.tv.
.tv.
Let's have one more question.
You have a question?
Just so I wanted to say something about humanity.
No, we're talking about the chief, not humanity. We're talking about the chief.
What you gonna do with humanity? Maybe you don't know what humanity all stands for.
Okay, is there anybody else who has not spoke? Okay.
So as a community, what more can we do to have more of an influence on the city manager's decision?
There's a survey you can do. It's also online, that just in case you didn't get to share everything, or something comes up later, that they're reviewing it. Somebody's compiling that information. You can call your city councilman. You can meet with your city councilman and tell them, hey, I want you to speak up for this issue.
The city manager is also here,
And the city manager's here. And she has spoke already. So, all right, is there anybody who hasn't spoken? Because she has a question.
A concern of community.
Directing towards the chief.
Communicating better with West Fresno residents, because as I've been down there at the City Hall, it's very biased on how we get information. Just like they just put that information, I think, thing at Edison High School where you can post all kind of information. So that would be awesome if they can use that thing to post information, because I told the last meeting, unfinished business, because when they put in that shopping center in West Fresno, see, we had an information board on the side of that P&R building, and it put all kind of information. It made us feel good to have information about our African-American brothers and sisters who had graduated from Edison High School. And if I would have knew they were just going to throw that away, it's like it didn't even matter when your development came through. And I brought that up to Mr. Ayers about that. So you guys want to really make us proud about West Fresno? Like I was down there yesterday at the Armenian genocide. I'm so glad I showed up because I thought it was Thursday. And you guys gave recognition to some of my parents that are Armenian. Mr. Ralph Dekashin and the late Mildred Dekashin. And I know them very well from working with them. And when you guys, with all this stuff going on, I have contacted my Shriners brothers and let them know all this mess, how I've been treated with the sheriff department and stuff being covered up. And I'm going to call Mr. Ralph Dekashin again and get these Armenians involved, since they're so interested about their genocide and history. And you guys are going to make sure you're going to put their agenda to teach in college, and no, in high school at 10th grade. You guys better think about African American history. Okay. I'm not going to let you guys desolate our community history like you've been doing it.
Thank you.
I'm going to fight till I'm dead.
All right. Anybody else want to address the chief of police? I think.
Should have never met with Miss Calvert.
I really wanted to thank everybody that gave input, people that that live in different parts of the city of Fresno. This young lady right here, I met her at City Hall. She's dynamite. She knows her stuff. Okay, and you got other people, and another lady over here that lives in this area. I mean, you know, so a lot of us are affected, but I think that the strong message that we need to send out there is that culture diversity training that the individual needs to have. And that is one thing that is not mentioned, but I think it's essential that not only to meet with special interest groups, but to meet with the whole community. And that is when God says He accepts you the way you are. Okay, don't matter how rich you are or how poor you are. So that's the way we want the next police chief. Thank you very much.
All right, before we wrap it up, is there anybody who feels your side?
Develop a whole community here.
Hi, I just have a clarifying question for the city folks, if you can answer this as well. I just wanted to clarify what role city council members have in this process. If it is recommended that we do talk to council members, how much of that input is taken into account, or to what level do city council members have a say in this interview process or selection process?
You've done so good.
Thank you for the question. The city council has the opportunity to share all the information that they gather from all of their constituents directly with the city manager. And Wilma will be considering that information along with everything else that she's, again, as we've heard tonight, we heard 2 nights ago, we'll be hearing from the other 3 community meetings and through the online survey. All of that information is directly going to Wilma ultimately when she makes her final decision. So yes, by all means, if you reach out to your council member, rest assured they're going to share that information in addition to what they have on their mind as well.
And another thing I can say about these notifying the meetings.
Okay. If somebody has not spoken, and, oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, District 2 is currently vacant, so where will those comments be directed to if someone needs to? Does it just any council member is okay to speak to?
Yeah, we actually have somebody taking the calls and emails that are coming into that district.
Thank you, Wilma.
Sorry.
We do have staff who is actually taking calls for District 2. They're not just going to an answering machine and just waiting for somebody to take office. So that's being those calls are being fielded.
Thank you. Wondering if we can get like a clear of like who is everyone that is involved in this? Because at first we were hearing, right, there's a city manager and this recruiting firm, and now we're hearing city council also has input too. How can we know who the city manager is listening to? Where are the spaces that input is being received, comments are coming from, and what is being considered?
Correct me if I'm wrong. So as Jeff mentioned earlier, we're compiling all of the comments that we receive from these community meetings, as well as the online surveys. There'll be reports generated based on that information. The recruiter that we hired is responsible for making sure we have a very diverse and good applicant pool. So recruiting as many potential candidates as possible. We'll have community panels that are set up to do the interviews, and then ultimately, and again, I'll be receiving information from our council members, the community, and then ultimately, once we go through those panels, it'll be my decision basically with input from those panels on who we hire. Does that help? Did I miss a step in there? Okay.
It all filters in.
All right, we're wrapping it up then. You have a question?
Just a comment.
No, we're talking about the chief of police. Here's somebody who has not spoken. Yes, theirs is May 2nd. May 2nd.
It's very biased.
City Manager, you mentioned community panels. Can you at this time tell us who's going to be on that community panel, or how many people are going to be on those panels?
Barely found out about
Take a microphone.
There's one there.
There's one there. That will be decided later. We have not made up we have not decided who's going to be on those panels yet. We're waiting to go through all of the community meetings, and that'll be decided later on. If you are interested, you can give your information to Jeff. Okay.
All right.
Okay, I think that's everybody got to share. All righty. We want to thank you for taking time. We know you guys are really busy, so thank you for being here. The next one is going to be is next Thursday.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you.